Welcome back to Learn SKN, and today we're going to conclude looking at the very interesting Econ 2022 May-June Paper 2. And before we jump into it, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so we can continue growing the channel here at Learn SKN. So let's jump into question number 5. Define each of the following economic concepts and give one example of each, right? Give one example of each. First one, protectionism. Now, protectionism, that refers to any economic policy that is put in place to restrict international trade in order to protect the local or domestic industries or any particular domestic industry. For example, ban a quota in terms of importing certain things. So you can say, okay, the government can say, okay, we're going to put a quota in place, meaning you can only import, let's say, 10,000 pounds of onions, and the rest would come from the local industry, right? Or you can put very high tariffs, like what Trump is doing, put very high tariffs on importation, and so those tariffs are going to cause the imported goods to be more expensive than local goods. So that person would say, okay, no, I'm not going to import. I am just going to buy local. So those are policies used to protect the local industry. So that's protectionism right there. Not a good thing. Based on what's going on in the world right now, it's not a good thing, but sometimes it's a necessary evil. Then we have structural adjustment. Now this speaks to any economic policy that, like, when a country is in dire need of assistance in terms of fiscally, if the country is in a lot of debt, sometimes when they go to the IMF or when they go to the World Bank, they'll have to change how they are doing things in the economy. Those are the changes are the structural adjustment. So they have to implement certain measures, certain policies, so that they can get assistance from the international lending agencies like the IMF. And so things like increasing taxes, things like reducing the government wage bill, so fire persons, those reduced subsidies, those are examples of structural adjustment, freezing on hiring more people. So you have to do all of this thing, austerity measures. You have to cut your hair, as they call it, tighten your belt, to get the economy back up and running. This normally happens when your economy is in a bad way, when things kind of slow, when you have large national debt, and you might default on debts, and you have to go to IMF or some other lending agency, and they'll tell you, okay, to get our money, here's what you need to do. And I gave you the examples earlier. Increase taxes, cut the spending bill by reducing the level of employment of persons in the civil servant, reduce subsidies, etc., etc. All right, next question. Explain 2 advantages of economic integration to a country. Explain 2 advantages of economic integration to a country. And so we know one time what they are talking about here. Of course, they're talking about CSME, CARICOM in the region, all of us coming together as one economy. And so you can see certain advantages. So let's look at, the book has a whole bunch of them, right, from the CSME perspective. And so let's look at some of them. Give a country access to larger market for goods and services. So what I'm saying is, no, like, let's say all the Caribbean come together as one, right? All of us totally integrated, economically integrated. That now means that if I'm a businessman here in my country, now I can think about selling products, goods, services to the wider region now without any kind of barriers, any kind of issues. So now, what the advantage here is that you are creating a larger market for your goods and services. So each country will have access to a larger market. I can stay from here, and I can have access to Trinidad, Jamaica, Dominica, Antigua, all those, if you're all part of an economic integrated system. And so look at that way this year. There's a combined population of some 7-8 million people in CARICOM region, and it's a large market to sell this stuff. So that's one. 2, they say enable people of the region to improve the standard of living, meaning that now that you're integrated, you can move for work. So if you're unemployed one place, now you don't have to even think about just working in that place only. You can say, okay, no jobs here in Antigua. Let me just run down to Barbados. Let me just run across the St. Kitts. Let me just run up to Jamaica to see if I can get a job up there without any barriers or anything like that, because we are all considered one big economy. So you have a greater access to more jobs, right? The labor market. So the same thing, achieve full employment, same thing. Expand trade and economic relations. So that means now that if all of us are integrated, look at the EU, for example, the European Union. Do you see how they are so tightly knit because of the whole integration going on right there with people, movement of people, movement of goods, etc., etc. And so now you can improve economic and trade relations, because what's going to benefit me, going to benefit you. So everybody now want to work together to make sure that on an economic level, all of us are doing well. Improve levels of international competitiveness, meaning that when you have to compete against a pool of 6 million people, instead of your usual maybe 100,000 in a population, now you have to look at 6 million. That means now you have to come good. So now you have to up your game. Forces you to become better at what you're doing because of competition on that level. And so once you up your game now, you're able to compete on a wider global market. Increase production and productivity, of course, because now we have greater access to manpower. And so therefore, because the labor market is going to be so much larger, that means now that there's competition for work. So nobody going to be slacking off now, because you know, if you drop out of the job market, somebody got a lot to choose from. And so of course, you're going to be up on your productivity game. And this means that companies can now expand their production operations, and that can lead to economies of scale. So they become large enough, because one of the downsides to some of us small countries is that our people cannot produce on a large scale because we're only catering to a small market. But imagine you open that up now, companies can expand different islands, bigger branches and that kind of thing, and that would improve or lead to economies of scale. So all those are advantages right there of economic integration. Increase inflows of new capital. So again, free movement of people and money and resources. So now richer economies can pump money into not so rich economies and start their own business and stuff like that. Imagine all the companies coming from maybe Trinidad, Barbados, Jamaica, and going to the smaller islands to open up branches and things like that, right? So that is a part of it. And of course, I mean, free movement means easier travel, right? Easier travel, so you don't have to go through all those restrictions, visa and this and that. You can travel freely amongst the member states, and you're able to get jobs, you're able to start businesses, and all those kind of things. So those are some advantages of economic integration to a. We did ask for 2, I gave you a few. So pick and choose, and you could run with that. Alright, the last question. Yes, 6 marks. Last question for this paper. The COVID-19 pandemic highlighted problems that small developing countries face due to limited resources relating to technology and communication. These problems included limited access to internet in some areas and limited knowledge regarding the use of technology. Discuss 2 ways in which foreign direct investment can be used to solve these problems. Alright, cool. So, foreign direct investment, how can be used to solve some of these problems? Well, that means that persons can invest in the infrastructure. So now, because we don't have it locally, we can now bring in persons from overseas to invest in our infrastructure, to build up our infrastructure. Because look at 5G and those kind of things. You can have people come in and invest in those technologies so that persons here can learn and use them. So you can invest in the infrastructure. Also, they can invest in education, training our workforce, training our people. So somebody, a college of overseas or something, can come in and, start classes, start sessions, workshops, those kind of things, to try to get our people more knowledgeable in these new technologies. Look at what's happened with COVID when we were introduced to Zoom, and then a lot of companies came down and started investing in different areas. You had the whole digital nomad thing where people would come from overseas and stay in the Caribbean to work and that kind of thing, bring their expertise to the Caribbean, right? So those are some ways in which foreign direct investment can assist in these particular issues, communication, technology, because last I checked, not many countries in the Caribbean own satellites. We don't own all that infrastructure to bounce the GPS and that kind of thing up and down, triangulate and those kind of things. So we require foreign investment in the infrastructure, in the people, in the country, to help us become more knowledgeable and to give us more access to these kinds of technologies. So just to sum it all up, in this case, there's 2 ways in which foreign direct investment can be used to solve these problems. So the 2 problems would be the lack of the technology and communication, and limited access to internet and the knowledge regarding the use of those technologies. So those are the problems. And I'm saying here that if a foreign direct investor comes, they can improve our infrastructure so that we're able to have better internet, and also they can bring their knowledge and know-how to train our local people in the use of these technologies, how to repair them, how to install them, etc., etc. That is going to help our people on a whole. So both infrastructural development and human resource development. That is what FDI can do as it relates to internet and the technologies out there. So you can develop those points as best you can, and that would be the answer for that one. Alright, so that's it for this paper. Very interesting paper. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and stay tuned for the next paper that we are going to drop soon.